Insider. We're going to release our next top 25 rankings. Yeah. And we're going to have a lot of differences there. A lot of mix-ups there. Again, rankings from a month ago, it's bound to change. So we're going to have that in there. We're going to mention some of the teams, but if you want to see the full rankings, we'll post it out on our socials later today and make sure everyone can see that, as well as if you haven't subscribe to d2insider.com/subscribe. But we're going to talk about this week, and again, we're going to go conference by conference, talk a lot about that. Again, you'll mention some of us say their ranking, but if you want to see the full rankings, repeat what I said earlier. See our socials or subscribe to d2insider.com/subscribe. But without further ado, we'll get right into it. Again, in order by conference, so we'll start with the CACC. And, well, we got a new one for the CACC. Holy Family, the brand new program. They played 4 games this weekend. They won 3. So they won their first ever program win, their first ever series win. Kyle Davis, the head coach there. Really excited for his program to get started there, as junior Brian Comer went 6 of 10 with 5 walks and runs, 4 stolen bases, 3 doubles, and 2 runs on the weekend for the Tigers as they embark on their first season. Graduate student Casey Murphy was stellar in game 2 of the series. He went 5 innings, allowed 2 hits, a run, 2 walks, and he struck out 8 batters. And then Jefferson opened their campaign at a neutral site, playing 2 different opponents, going 3-1 on the weekend. Opening day starter Jem Cisco was terrific for the Rams. He went 5 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, no walks, and he struck out 13 batters. That's something that will get the job done there, Will. So offensively, Josh Lopez went 6 of 18 in the 4 games. Half of those 6 hits, home runs, 3 home runs, 9 RBI. So exciting there. Wilmington, Delaware, they're another team to look out for in that conference. They began their season 3-1 after winning 3 straight to close out their weekend, the Ripken experience. Jack McDonald had an outstanding weekend. He went 5 of 8 with 3 home runs, 7 RBI, and 7 walks at the plate, as he was the CACC Player of the Week. Goldie Beacom also had another good week. Another team to look out for in that CACC. They went 3-1 at the USA Baseball Training Complex in Cary, North Carolina, also the site of the Division II Baseball World Series. They're 6-2 on the season. Justin Jump, the CACC Pitcher of the Week, threw 7 scores with 3 hits and 8 strikeouts in the 10-0 win against Kutztown. And Bridgeport, Chestnut Hill, Dominican all opened up their season this past weekend. Well, they all went winless, however. But Chestnut Hill, they had 15 doubles through 4 games as a team. And Michael Pasco for Chestnut Hill had an 8 of 16 weekend with 3 of those 15 doubles by himself. And he also added a triple. So that will cover the CACC.
Yes, Robert, and now as we talk about the CCAA, big surprise out of this league. When you look at this league, San Fran State was a massive surprise with what they were able to do over the weekend. They went 3-1 against Cal State San Bernardino. And redshirt junior David Eichhorn threw a complete game. It was a 5-hitter, allowing just 1 unearned run, 1 walk. He struck out 8, and he did it to the tune of being the CCAA Pitcher of the Week, doing it against an electrifying offense of Cal State San Bernardino. Impressive, really impressive, the way that San Fran State was able to go 3-1 to get this big conference victory against a team that was toward the top of the table last year. We have certainly taken notice of that, and San Fran State is receiving votes in our D2BI weekly poll, and for good reason. Robert, I know we talked about this a lot, about what we wanted to do, how we wanted to go about it, but at the end of the day, I mean, you really got to give a lot of credit to what San Fran State did this past weekend. Also, the staff as a whole, it just wasn't Eichhorn. The staff as a whole only gave up 9 runs in a 4-game set. And like we said, against a pretty darn good team. So that is the headliner, so to speak, in the CCAA. And then also Cal State San Marcos, they started 3-1 in conference play. They hosted an electrifying offense of Cal State LA, but it was redshirt junior Connor Gleisner who pitched well in game 2 of the series, went 7, allowed 1 unearned run, and 6 hits, 6 strikeouts for him. And despite losing 3 of 4, well, Cal State LA, they're leading the conference in hitting right now, hitting .331 as a team right now. Matthew Petorsky, who we talked a lot about last week, he's hitting .473 with 2 home runs and 3 doubles on the season. Trey Wingett was named CCAA Pitcher of the Week for Cal State Dominguez Hills as Player of the Week, He went 6 of 12 with 5 runs driven in, 6 runs scored, hit 3 home runs, stole a couple of bases. And for CSUDH, they outscored Stanislaus State 33-13 in a 3-game set. So they did a pretty good job in their series victory. And then also Monterey Bay took 3 of 4 against Sonoma State, getting back on track after dropping a series to Point Loma the week before. Jaden Shepard, he's hitting the ball well. He's a Fresno State transfer, a guy to watch, hitting .444 after his 7-hit weekend in their series win. And then Cal State San Marcos, like we mentioned, Monterey Bay, Dominguez Hills, and San Fran State all starting conference play 3-1. That was a 4-game set that I mentioned for Dominguez Hills. But either way, pretty impressive how they start the conference slate good. Chico State, they split with Cal Poly Pomona. They got a massive series coming up with San Fran State now. And after struggling last season, it looks like Chico is going to be a competitive team. They, as a staff, they have 61 strikeouts and just 19 walks through 9 games. Ethan Lay, Kevin Lyons, that looks like a good 1-2 punch in that rotation for sure.
Absolutely, Will. And I mean, a couple weeks ago we were talking about how Cal Poly Pomona looks like they might be a team that can run the CCA. Now it's looking like San Francisco State. And so, as you mentioned, they are deservingly of receiving votes in that D2BI top 25 poll, as we think they can make a lot of noise there in the CCAA, especially, taking 3 of 4 against a San Bernardino offense that returned a lot of their offense, but they're struggling a little bit this year, but you can still think that they'll return to form later on in the season. So having that will only boost their resume going down the road. So as we continue on, we'll head over to the the Conference Carolinas, and we'll talk a lot about there. And we'll talk about Young Harris, who is now up to number 5 in our poll, as they're 13-1 through games on Sunday, and they kicked off their inaugural season in the Conference Carolinas with an impressive sweep against Erskine. Steven Spell, the sophomore, stood out with a solid 6 of 12 performance, driving in 4 runs. But the bullpen for Young Harris over the week, they threw 9 innings of stellar pitching. They allowed 3 hits, no runs, 1 walk, and struck out 10 throughout the entire series. So that is going to be a crucial factor if this team wants to stay in the top 10, top 5 even, as they're currently ranked. They'll continue to play against another team who's unbeaten, and we'll talk about here in a minute, Mount Olive, who is also 3-0. Mount Olive, they began conference play again, sweeping a 10-4 Emmanuel squad. Redshirt senior Eric Johnson threw a shutout gem in Game 2 of the series. He went 7 with 2 hits, no runs, 1 walk, and 9 strikeouts, as he earned the Conference Pitcher of the Week honors. Landon Chaboy and Aiden Cottle each went 7-14 in the series. Chaboy had 2 doubles and 5 RBIs. Cottle had a double and 7 RBIs. They are the top 2 hitters for Mount Olive, with Chaboy at 408 and Cottle at 395. Number 2, North Greenville, as they move up 1 spot, went 4-1 on the week with a midweek win over Georgia College and a conference sweep over King. And we got to talk about Reese Fields, because he earned his 33rd career win over the weekend, and that puts him number 1 amongst active leaders across all levels of NCAA. Second place is someone at a D3 school in East Texas Baptist University, so with 32. So Fields is sitting number 1 amongst active leaders across all the NCAA. And we also got to talk about David David Lewis, the senior, he went 8 of 14 with 4 home runs and 10 RBIs over the week, and he'll continue to be a key cog. And when we talked about it over group text with Wayne Cavati, he was surprised to see that, and we were surprised to think that David Lewis was a guy who was basically a guy who was a platoon hitter 2 years ago. Now he's in the middle of this North Greenville lineup and providing offense there. And be sure to check out Cavati's Corner in our issue. So 8 of 14, Conference Player of the Week. And, we're lucky to have on Belmont Abbey's head coach Chris Anderson after he got his 300th career win. And it'll be in this week's issue. But they beat, in a conference series, then undefeated Barton, who came in sitting at 11-0. And they took 2 of 3. Connor Tucker had 3 hits on the weekend, but one of them was the walk-off in game 1 of the series. Tucker is top 2 in the team in just about every offensive category. So he's hitting 370 with an OPS just shy of 1,200. As now Belmont Abbey continues a tough series against a tough Francis Marion team who's receiving votes in our poll. And speaking of receiving votes in our poll, Francis Marion did another great job at home, taking 2 of 3 against ranked number 8, according to our updated poll, UNC Pembroke, who was also unbeaten going the series. They're looking like another good team in a loaded conference. There's second straight weekend taking the series against a ranked team. Last weekend, they beat Seton Hill 2 of 3. Zach Somerville extended his hitting streak to an even 10 games as his 8 of 16 week was highlighted by 4 extra base hits and 7 RBIs.
Absolutely impressive stuff, really, from Conference Carolinas all throughout. So many ranked teams in here, and it's interesting because they're looking like one of the best leagues. Obviously, they only get stronger when we rank a team 5th in the country as a new member in Young Harris, but that's what they expected to do this year. They thought they were going to be great, and they have started the year great. So that is cool. How about the East Coast Conference? Defending ECC tournament champion Queens, they are perfect to begin the year, going 4-0 at the Ripken Experience, defeating Cary participant Southern New Hampshire from a year ago in a 30-plus win team host from a season ago as well. The staff as a whole, they pitched to the tune of a 2.91 ERA, and if that keeps up, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with in the East region. Senior Jordan Sanabria threw a gem in his season opener against SNHU. He went 5 shutout against a pretty impressive lineup and had 5 strikeouts, just allowed 1 hit. And speaking of champions, the defending regular season champs, Malloy, is off to a great start as well, winning 6 of their first 7, including a 3-1 mark this past weekend at the Ripken Experience as well. Matt Yip, he's been electric for the Lions, leading the team with an OPS of 1.337. He recorded a hit and an RBI in 3 of the 4 games this weekend. And also for Viewville, it's Jeremy Galinsky, who had 6 hits and 8 at-bats with a home run, as Viewville lost to Millersville and Westchester, 2 really good teams, ranked in some polls, both of them. And they beat Mercyhurst, so not a bad weekend to take on 3 really good teams, and he goes off, and the Saints gear up for their spring break trip in Cary, North Carolina this coming week. But Galinsky is hitting .769 on the season. Yes, you read that right. He's 10 of 13 with 7 runs scored, 4 doubles, and 2 home runs. And then you get Staten Island, who opened up their season at the Ripken Experience as well. They went 1-4, including a game on Monday. Sophomore Chris Holmeny recorded a hit in a multi-hit game in 4 of the 5 games. He went 10 of 19 overall.
And yeah, that ECC conference, will be excited to see what happens there. Malloy, a really good team, but if Galinsky can hit the way he is, look out for DUville as well. So, you got your teams like Malloy and Queens at the top, but DUville is making strides there. Again, they did go 1-2, but then again, they did play really good PSAC teams, with Mercyhurst, Millersville, Westchester, all 3 teams receiving votes or in top 25, depending on the poll. But as we continue on, we'll continue on to the Great American Conference. And the Great American Conference has 3 teams that are 6-0 in conference play to begin the year. And we'll start with the highest ranked team, which is Southern Arkansas, ranked 13th in our D2BI poll. They are 11-3 on the season, 6-0 in conference. They went 3-1 in the week. They swept East Central on the road. They scored 10 or more runs in each game. And while the Mule Riders starting lineup, they've been a boon, as 8 of the 9 hitters are hitting above 300, and 6 of those 8 has an OPS over 1,000, as junior Trey Shoup leads the team with 21 hits. And speaking of top 25 in D2BI, we'd like to welcome Harding into the top 25 as they ranked 24th. They had a tough midweek loss, however, but they picked up right where they left off in conference play. They swept Oklahoma Baptist, and now they are 6-0 in the Great American Conference on the play, 12-2 on the season through Sunday. The catcher and designated hitter combo of both Colin Helms and Sebastian Martinez were rumbling for the Harding Bison as the pair went 14-25 of the season. Half of those hits were extra base hits, and over half of those extra base hits were home runs, with 4 home runs and 10 RBIs. And speaking of Sebastian Martinez, he's currently tied for 10th in the country with 21 runs batted in. And Arkansas Monticello, a team we got to talk about, as well as they're 8-5 on the season, 6-0 in conference. They had a perfect week this week. They beat Harding at Harding 15-0 at a midweek. And, that's impressive in itself. And then they go into southeastern Oklahoma State and scratch out 3 one-run wins. Speaking of perfect, junior Nelson Mercado was nearly perfect across 2 relief appearances. He faced 6 batters and struck out 5 of them across 2 appearances, and he collected 2 saves. Catcher Chaz Poppy has had 3 consecutive 3-hit games during the week, on the midweek Tuesday, Friday, and then the first game of doubleheader Saturday, as he hit 9-17 on the weekend with a home run and 5 RBI. Another team we'd like to talk about in the Great American Conference is Arkansas Tech. They've won 4 straight, including a midweek win in non-conference play against Southern Arkansas, ranked number 13, and they swept Southern Nazarene at home. Will Horton, the senior, faced a minimum across 2 relief appearances. He had a 3-inning save against Southern Arkansas, and he pitched 2/3 of an inning in Game 3 of the series Saturday, in which he struck out 6 of the 11 batters he faced. So, in essence, the Great American Conference is looking great so far.
It really is. It's looking like a really good. We're going to follow that for sure, and we've obviously seen that throughout this year with Harding and how well they've played. But let's continue on and move on to the GLIAC. Grand Valley State opens up their season against Gannon. They sweep them as Jordan Cure obtains his first 4 victories at the helm. Both sides of the ball performed beautifully as the Lakers scored 10-plus runs in each game and allowed 1 or 2 runs in each game. A 1.80 ERA is pretty good as a team. They threw the ball incredibly well. Junior Jonas Goldbrandson went 7-17 on the weekend with 3 homers, 13 RBIs, and a stolen base. Kyle Knott was 8-15 with 2 home runs, 6 RBIs, and 8 runs scored. Nick Rutkowski threw 6 innings and struck out 9 in the opener, allowing 4 hits and 2 runs. And then junior Colin Bradley threw 4 innings in relief of Game 2. He was pretty good, didn't allow a hit and struck out 4. Grand Valley State, they had a 4.5 strikeout to walk ratio in that weekend. And that allows a sweep against Gannon. That's the best mark in the country right now. I know it's a small sample size, but they're throwing it well. And then Wayne State, they travel to Tiffin. They go 3-0. Carter Fitzpatrick, again, certainly one of the best arms in the nation. We'll talk about him a lot this year. He threw 7 innings of 2-run balls, struck out a baker's dozen, 13. Set a school record now with 25 career wins, and he'll continue to add to that total we'd expect this season. And sophomore Brent Hitzelberger, who went 7 of 10. And An RBI in the series as well. Purdue Northwest opened up their season by going 3-1 on the road at Kentucky Wesleyan. Noah Brew was brilliant out of the bullpen. He went 5 2/3, and the senior just gave up 3 hits, no runs, struck out 6 to aid a 4-1 win on Sunday. And then Saginaw Valley State, they continued their winning ways. They're now 5-2 on the season, taking 2 of 3 at Cedarville, winning both games of the doubleheader against Findlay on Monday. Hayden Yachek delivered the first no-hitter of the season in Division II baseball on Monday, struck out 7 and walked 1 in a 7-inning contest, and he swung the bat well on Monday as well. He's our national pitcher of the week.
Yeah, that's right, Will. And, this GLIAC conference, we see that Wayne State's, sitting at number 17 in our rankings. But this Grand Valley State team, let's see if they try to buck this trend of the last few years where a team, they start off pretty hot. They're getting attention in the Midwest region, but then they kind of cool off at the end and play their way out of it. But this is a great start for Coach Kerr as he starts, 4-0 on the season. So we'll see how that plays out as well. But speaking of how things play out, let's talk about the GLVC, as a lot played out there. As let's talk about the teams that were previously ranked in our polls or receiving votes. And we'll start with Quincy. Quincy played a midweek against Valdosta State, lost, and then they played a weekend series against Columbus State. They lost. They're 0-7 on the season, so they're on a tough start. And they returned home this week. They went 29-3 last season. They're one of the most prolific offenses ever last year, and so it'll be a challenge to replicate that production. But we'll see how they play at home. They only have 3 home runs through 7 games, hitting .232 on the team. But David Broughton, one of the newcomers, standing out in this lineup right now. He's hitting .360. And we also will talk about Maryville. They hosted defending GMAC regular season tournament and tournament champion Northwood, as the Saints sent them home packing after a sweep. Maryville now sitting at 5-3, as sophomore Jack Seabig contributed in a big way. He totaled 7 RBIs on the weekend, including 6 in Friday's win. Ben Gregory struck out 9 over 6 in the third in their 6-4 win Saturday. Gregory allowed 5 hits and just 1 earned run in the excellent start. Maryville, it's definitely a team to watch for us. They play an incredibly tough schedule to start the season, but they might be the team to beat in the GLVC now as we inch closer to GLVC play. But they do have a tough midweek this week against Central Missouri. So a sweep over Northwood is nothing short of impressive. Michael Long and Zeebig each have 3 home runs on the season. And Michael Gould has started the season hitting .262, and it'll definitely pick up for him for the All-American. Elias Stevens leads the team with 4 home runs. He's 7-39. They've shown Pop with 19 home runs through 9 games. Jacob Krager, another guy that we looked out for. He has a 7.11 ERA, but he'll definitely get better. So having that rotation will help the team go far. But speaking of their team that's looking pretty good, with a lot of returners, they go to Drury. They go to West Texas A&M. They play a 2-game series. Again, the Lone Star Conference has a 48-game conference schedule, so they only play 2 games that count. The third one was an exhibition game, but they split a 2-game series down there. A team that was ranked number 8 in the NCBWA most recent poll, and they're ranked in our poll as well. In game 1 of the series, Drury was down 5-0 early as West Texas A&M got to Cody Ball, but they scored 14 unanswered runs and ended up winning that game 14-6. Wes Collins was nearly perfect on offense for Drury as the junior went 5 of 8 with a double, 2 home runs, and 5 RBI. McKendree takes 3 of 4 against Southwest Baptist. They're in the same conference, but it was considered non-conference action. Redshirt junior Brandon Roth delivered a ton for this Bearcat offense as he went 9-16 with 4 doubles, 2 home runs, and 9 RBI. Lewis traveled Trevecca Nazarene, similar to what Maryville did a week ago, but Lewis played 1 more game. They played 4 games instead of 3, and they earned a series split. Junior Mikey Kosin recorded at least 1 hit and RBI in each game of the series. His whole line league win on the weekend was 7-15 with a home run and 5 RBI. Southwest Baptist in that series against McKendree. They earned their first win. Redshirt sophomore Aiden Fetters hit a walk-off grand slam to beat McKendree in Game 3 of the series. Upper Iowa and William Jewell both opened their seasons this weekend, both getting a series split against Wisconsin, Parkside, and Northern State, respectively. Despite the split, Jewell scored 41 runs in 4 games, and Alex Sepp got right back to it. The All-American candidate went 9-16 on opening weekend with 3 doubles and a home run. They have a OPS over 1,100 through 4 games, but they also allowed 43 runs on the weekend as Chandler Ashby allowed 5 earned runs in 5 2/3 innings, but something you shouldn't get used to. So he went 10-1 last year with a 3.68 ERA. Rockers started the year well. They're 8-3 after sweeping Bemidji State this past weekend, scoring a lot of runs in the process. They're hitting 362 on the team, one of the best marks in the nation. Adonis Forte is hitting 436 who is 17-39 with 5 doubles and a home run, with 8 RBI and an OPS over 1,100. And then the other team I want to mention too that was in our rankings, Indy. They started season 1-3. Georgia Southwestern swept them. Zach Williams, who emerged late last season, is 5-10 to start the year, 4 doubles and a home run. They turned 8 double plays in 4 games, and they're going to play Grand Valley State on a big weekend series. It's pretty interesting to see that. And then talking about another team that was, in the powers, UIS, they started 6-0, but they lost a ton of production. But one piece they are really good with is Brant Vanneman, who is our shortlist for GLVC Player of the Year. He's 16-40 to start the year, 4 home runs, 4 doubles, and 3 triples, and he's the reigning GLVC Player of the Week.
And as we move on to the GNAC, it's Evan Oakley for Kentucky Wesleyan, who threw the ball well. Despite a 0-3 weekend for them, he went 7 innings and just allowed 1 earned run over the weekend. And with 9 strikeouts, he has gone at least 5 innings in each start. The sophomore from Gilbertsville, Kentucky, is an arm to keep an eye on. And Ashland, they started the year tearing the cover off the baseball. They're now ranked, and they were the favorites to win this league. They went on the road and swept Concord, and outscoring them 33-4 in the process. Ben Peltz went 4 of 9 with 2 home runs. 5 different Eagles hit a home run as they had 8 as a team in a 3-game sweep. Ethan Stevens went for shutout innings with 6 Ks and no walks, as the starters for Ashland did not allow a run over the weekend, and their staff only allowed 2 earned runs in total over the weekend. So pretty good pitching for John Shalley's club, as Thomas Moore won 3 games over the weekend against West Virginia Wesleyan College. Lane Marshall has 10 for 20 to start the year with 3 doubles for Ohio Dominican, who started the season sweeping UVA Wise but lost a pair of games to Seton Hill. Close games, though, against a very good team, 5-2 and 5-4 in 15 innings on Sunday.
Yeah, that's right, Will. And, as in this GMAC conference, it'll be really exciting to see Ashland as they're receiving votes in our poll. So exciting to see how they perform, and maybe they start to reach a top 25 in that regard. But as we continue on, another team we want to talk about who entered our top 25 and a team that did something miraculous over this weekend was Northwest Nazarene, as they went to Colorado Mesa and took 3 of 4. The last time a non-conference opponent did that was Utah in February 15-17 in 2002. So 22 years was the last time a team beat Colorado Mesa non-conference-wise in Grand Junction. But a lot to talk about there in terms of the GNAC. Their one loss for the number 19 Northwest Nazarene, if I haven't mentioned it already, Kyle Etheridge. He went 6 2/3 with 2 earned runs and 4 Ks despite that loss. But again, they did beat 3 out of 4. Caden Kirschenbaum, he had a 10-hit weekend in the 4-game set at MSU Denver for Montana State Billings. He had 4 home runs and 2 doubles with 7 RBI, an impressive 25 total bases and 16 at-bats over the dominant weekend in the game. And the last thing I'll say about number 9 Northwest Nazarene, hear our interview this week with head coach Joe Schaefer, where we discussed the team's success so far this season. Western Oregon's Arturo Alvarez was the GNAC pitcher of the week after throwing a 1-run complete game versus NAIA Oregon Tech on Sunday, as Colin Irwin is hitting .500 on the season. Curran Mitchell is hitting .347 with 3 doubles, 4 or 3 doubles, 4 triples, and a home run with 13 RBI. Western Oregon is hitting .305 as a team to lead the GNAC to begin the season.
And now we'll talk about the Gulf South Conference. It's Delta State, who's atop this league right now after winning 6 games in a row. They are 3-0 in conference play. And one thing for them right now is they sweep Union, and they host Montevideo this weekend in a big series. It's going to be Dylan Coleman, who made an impact at the plate last week, going 10 of 19 with 2 doubles, 1 home run, and 7 runs driven in. West Georgia is 5-1 in conference play as they've ripped off 4 wins in a row and have taken a series from Christian Brothers and Shorter in Gulf South Conference play, with Lee on the docket coming up this weekend. Matthew Batts from Lee went 8 of 12 with 3 doubles and a home run for Lee over the weekend. He's hitting .436 on the season. And a familiar face to the D2BI program, Dalton Newshander, threw the ball well. The first team All-American, went 7 shutout, 8 Ks, no walks, allowed just 2 singles. He's 2-1 on the year with a 2.14 ERA. Darren McDowell went 6 of 14 with 3 bombs for West Florida as well this past week. They're the lone top 25 team right now in D2BI's latest poll, as they took 2 of 3 at West Alabama last weekend. They've got a huge series coming up next weekend as they host Alabama Huntsville. Merrick Carter of Alabama Huntsville went 8 of 12 with 8 runs scored, a double and a home run in their sweep of Truman State. And Alabama Huntsville is a team that is receiving votes. They've done what they've needed to do. To win in the postseason, you got to have a back-end arm, and that's what they have in Corey Hagood. He is 7 2/3 innings across 7 appearances, has 6 saves and a win. So a winner, a save in every appearance, and 8 Ks and 1 walk. He's only allowed 1 hit, and it was just a solo homer this past weekend. The lefty is a big back-end arm out of the pen. 6 saves and 7 appearances is pretty darn good. He's been clutch for them on the hill, leading the country with 6 saves right now.
And yeah, the one thing I'll mention too about Merrick Carter is on Sunday's game against Truman State, he completed the cycle. Not only did he complete the cycle, he did it in 4 innings to cap off with a grand slam to cap off the cycle in the bottom of the 4th inning in the Gulf South Conference. So going to the Gulf South, we'll now go to the Lone Star. And the big topic of debate was Lone Star's UT Tyler. They went into Angelo State and did something that hasn't been done in 2 years, beating Angelo State in a series at where Angelo State was the home team. They took 3 of 4 on the series as the Patriot offense managed to score 8 or more runs in each game of the series, including the one that they lost. But, you know, the trio of Kyle Atkinson, Ethan Bedgood, and Lane Hutchinson are really performing here for UT Tyler, as each of them hit over 500 on the weekend, combining for 16 runs and 15 RBI. St. Mary's, Texas takes 3 of 4 against Oklahoma Christian on the weekend. Sophomore Garrett Brooks had the weekend to remember. He went 11 of 20 with 7 RBIs, including 2 4-hit games in the 4-game set. St. Edwards went 2-2. They're 6-8 overall. 6-6 in the Lone Star play. They played Eastern New Mexico again, split. Game 3 of the series was highlighted by Lone Star Conference Pitcher of the Week, Jacob Rayfield, who threw a 7-inning complete game shutout with 3 hits, 1 walk, and 7 strikeouts. Arkansas Fort Smith's been a little bit of a surprise for us lately. They split a series on the road at Lubbock Christian. Senior Brandon Ulmer provided a roar for the Lions on offense, who went 7 of 13 on the series, including hitting for the cycle in Game 2 of the Saturday doubleheader with 8 RBI. He's leading the conference in hitting at .488, as is his team at .355. They've been one of the biggest surprises, as this is their final season of Lone Star before going to the MIAA, which we'll talk about next, as they take on number 25 Angelo State at home. Texas A&M International, the last thing we'll mention with the Lone Star. They took 3 of 4 against UT Permian Basin. Junior Abain Medina was feeling at the plate. He went 6 of 15 with a home run and 12 RBI. That outburst from the Ponce, Puerto Rico native is the D2 national leader in runs batted in with 32.
Speaking of leading the nation, let's talk about the MIAA. They're the best hitting conference in the country right now. It's going to be detailed as we talk about them. They're hitting 310 as a team, as a league right now. 310 as a league. And they have a 419 OBP as a league right now. The MIAA leads the nation as a conference in average and on base percentage. So a lot of runs scored, a lot of production at the plate for the MIAA in total, and it starts with Central Missouri. They're a team to discuss as we rank them third in our latest D2BI poll. When you win 12 of your first 15 games, it's pretty good. They have sweeps over Arkansas Tech and Davenport, a win over ranked Southern New Hampshire, too. I mean, they just took 2 of 3 from nationally ranked Central Oklahoma. They're a good team. They're a really good team, and they've been impressive. Josh Patrick has been impressive as well. 6 bombs, 3 doubles, and a triple for him. He's hitting .412. On the season, he's walked more than he's struck out. A really tough out at the plate. Rogers State, too. They've won 8 games in a row. They're now 11-3 after sweeping Newman to begin conference play. And, well, they lead the nation, turning 19 double plays so far. And Joel Escalante is 15 of 43, hitting .349 on the year with 6 doubles, 3 home runs, and 13 RBIs to begin the season. Quinn Mason of Northwest Missouri State, he went 6 2/3 this past week of shutout action with 11 Ks. And then Trent Trammell of the Newman Jets had a 9 of 19 week with 7 runs scored, a double or 1 double and 3 triples. An impressive week at the plate for him. And then Harry Kuziak of Missouri Southern went 10 of 20 with 5 doubles and 2 home runs. Also, Central Missouri, Missouri Southern, and Central Oklahoma teams we just mentioned, they're all within the D2BI's top 12. They've looked really good this season with 3 teams ranked that high. The MIAA has 4 teams in the top 10 in home runs: Central Missouri, Missouri Southern, Pitt State, and Washburn, and not to mention Northeastern State, who just lost to Missouri Western in 2 of 3. They're scoring runs at an unreal clip, too. C.D. White has got 30 RBIs on the season, hitting .354, while they've scored 169 runs in just 16 games, getting over 10 runs a game, and they're swiping 3.38 bags per game, creating a lot of chaos on the base paths, and they've got a huge series coming up with Central Missouri. Washburn got a series win over Pittsburgh State. They scored 29 runs on a midweek win over Rockhurst as well. They've hit 42 doubles this season already. That is 4th most in Division II baseball. And in Central Oklahoma, again, we mentioned them. They lost to Central Missouri, but they just lost game 2, 6-5, and they are able to pick up a game as well. Despite allowing 28 runs on the weekend, their staff still has an ERA just above 4. And Brett Pensy with 4-0 with a 1.83 ERA across 4 appearances. He's been pretty darn good this year with 3 starts, and Garrett Long is hitting .444 with 4 doubles, 2 home runs, and 13 runs driven in. And then Rafael Espinoza of Fort Hays State. He's 2-0 on the year with 4 appearances and 3 starts and just 3 earned runs allowed, and 15 2/3 has a 1.72 ERA, but the redshirt freshman did not record an out, walked 1 batter, and hit a couple against Missouri Southern and was pulled after 14 pitches.
And yeah, the one thing I'd like to mention too with number 3 Central Missouri, their 3 losses so far on the season, 2 were at Minute Maid, 1 to now number 1 Tampa. We'll mention them later. 2 to number 4 as of now Millersville, and then the end of the series against number 12. You already mentioned it, Central Oklahoma University. And going from the MIAA, we go now to the NEC. And we'd like to shout out JP Ranieri for providing updates for us on that. In the dynamic Mountain East Baseball Conference, Concord looks promising. They currently lead the way in batting average with an impressive 279 in 7 games, while Wheeling spiked the chart this week, hitting just 300 in just 5 games, soaring to the top with 9 home runs. Though the season is still fresh, Frostburg State shines too, boasting a 276 average and leading the conference with 64 hits. On the pitching front, Wheeling's pitchers are maintaining a solid 5.08 ERA with an outstanding 40 strikeouts over 39 innings. West Virginia State, with more games played, isn't far behind, pitching a 5.18 ERA and amassing a conference-leading 71 strikeouts over 66 innings. As Wheeling Both Brady Killens and Kenny Jinks were the player and pitcher of the week, respectively. As you know, they did yield it. Killens, he went 7 of 18 with 9 RBIs and 2 runs. He's leading the team in conference, or leading the team in home runs and RBIs. Kenny Jinks making Cartersville, Georgia proud, as that's where he hails from. He, the MEC pitcher of the week, he threw against Dillard and struck out 14 across 7 1/3 innings without giving up a single earned run. But also Glenville State, Fabian Escalante is mesmerizing things with a stunning 684 batting average, 13 hits and 19 at-bats, despite a 4.50 ERA. Eddie Blake of Concord dominates the strike zone with 15 strikeouts in 16 innings. West Virginia State's Cameron Lewis leads in the wins column, boasting 2 victories under his belt. Again, thank you, JP Ranieri, for providing that update for us.
Absolutely. Big shout out to JP for helping us out as we move on to the NE10, where Bentley opened up the season beating Lynn. And, well, they were a team on Robert's radar. So, Robert, I know you like that. And after a 4-0 weekend, Bentley looking to prove something as they're among the top teams in the NE10. Corey Bright, well, he had a bright spot, went 6 of 14 over the weekend with a couple bombs, 5 runs driven in. And, well, he has only struck out once this year in 31 plate appearances, as he had a good enough weekend to be NE10 player of the week. Southern New Hampshire went 3-2 over the week. And at the Ripken Experience, that's a pretty good mark for them. They close it out with a win against nationally ranked Malloy. And in his second career start, redshirt freshman Zach Brasso fired a 5-hit complete game, allowing just 1 unearned run while striking out 9, walking 4, and earning a selection as NE10 pitcher of the week. Franklin Pierce opened up at the Ripken Experience. They went 1-4, but Ethan Badapaglia showed some promise for the Ravens. The grad student went 7 of 16 with 5 extra base hits, had 3 triples in the process and 2 runs driven in. And then Ian Badapaglia went 9 of 13 with 5 runs scored, a home run and a couple doubles as well. So the Badapaglias went off, having 16 of the team's 33 hits in opening weekend. Pace is the remaining school to start in this conference. The Setters open up this weekend in a tournament at the USA Baseball Trading Complex in Cary, North Carolina, where the NCAA Division II World Series is conducted.
That being said, we move to the NSIC, as Wayne State, Nebraska has been a pleasant surprise to start the season. Now 7-1, both on the season and conference play, as the Wildcats took 2 of 3 at a neutral site against Minnesota Crookston in the final game of the series. Wayne State came back from a 7-0 deficit to win 9-8. Sophomore Trey Wells is leading the team in RBI and OPS, 12 RBI and OPS over 1,200, nearly at 1,250. Number 14, Augustana, they dropped 9 spots. They began their season on the road with a series split against Regis. However, the experienced offense was no slouch in driving in runs. 9 different hitters recorded 2 or more RBI, led by seniors Jack Hines and Drake Dirksen, who each had 4. Southwest Minnesota State won their first game in conference play on Sunday. Led by senior Colby Kaiser, he dominated the Minnesota Duluth offense as he went the distance in the 7-inning game, allowing 4 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, and striking out an impressive 13 batters. Concordia St. Paul opened up conference play winning series against Minot State 3-1. The CSP Bears have scored 91 runs in 7 games and have an OPS over 1,000 as a team. Jaden Warner is playing good as anyone in the nation with 15.29 to begin the season, 5.17 with 3 home runs, 4 doubles, 16 RBI, and 8 runs scored. A strong 6-1 start for them, as looking forward to seeing if they can continue offense this week at the Tucson Invitational Games. Northern State scored a lot of runs versus William Jewell, and was the highest scoring weekends you'll ever see. 84 runs were scored between the teams, and Northern State scored 43 runs while hitting 357 as a team during the weekend. Brendan Phillips went 8 of 12 with 6 runs scored, while Jack Widener went 7-9 with 2 doubles, a home run, and 5 RBI in just 2 games.
Some impressive stuff when you look at that league, and another impressive team. When we continue to talk about leagues, we're going to talk about the PacWest, and we're going to start with number 6 Point Loma. Started conference play going 3-1 against Fresno Pacific. The offense was carried by junior Bryson Hashimoto, went 5 of 11 on the weekend with 9 runs driven in, as the Honolulu, Hawaii native recorded multiple runs driven in. In 3 of the 4 games of the series, senior Cole Colleran threw 6 shutout innings, 3 Ks in Game 3 of the series, notching the win by a 1-0 score. They needed a good outing by him, and he gave it to them. After losing the series opener, Concordia Irvine made quick work of Hawaii Hilo in their conference opener, going 3-1 in a series. That was Sunday to Monday. Redshirt junior Jake Covey threw a 7-inning complete game in the second of the series, striking out 6, just allowed 3 hits. And then Chaminade opened up its season in PacWest play as they played 4 games against Hawaii Pacific. Though only 2 counted towards conference play, the Swords went 3-1 over the weekend. Freshman Ryan Ruck delivered at the plate, going 7 of 11 with 2 home runs, a triple, and 6 runs driven in, and 6 RBI. That's pretty impressive with the triple as well, and a couple of bombs. In the second game of the series, junior Max Patterson threw a 7-inning shutout, giving up only 2 hits, 0 runs, striking out 7. And then how about junior Casey Cadell, who also had a dynamite weekend for Chaminade, going 10 of 16, drove in 7 at a homer as well. And then how about Biola? You know, they had James Whitman had a series in non-conference action against Westmont where the Eagles went 2-1-1. The San Diego, California native went 5 for 10. A good effort for Mr. Whitman as he had 9 runs driven in and a couple home runs. He led the PacWest in runs driven in on the weekend. So good stuff out of the PacWest for sure, Robert.
Absolutely. You know, the PacWest gives us those opportunities to see how good some of these teams play, because we know how good Point Loma can be just 2 years removed from being a national runner-up. But it's good to see, you know, a program that brought itself back since 1981, Chaminade, be able to perform well. They went 3-1 against Hawaii Pacific, as Will mentioned. But going on now to the Peach Belt Conference, and we want to talk about Georgia Southwestern. They went from unranked to now number 15 in the nation. They're on a roll. They've won 7 straight after sweeping then-ranked Indianapolis, including a 16-0 win in the final game of the series. The starters for the Canes once again shoved. Each of them struck out 11 in their respective starts. Nick McCollum, the D2BI National Pitcher of the Week last week, almost got it again as he went 7 innings, 3 hits, no runs, no walks, and 11 Ks. Reginaldo Houston went 5 1/3, 5 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, 11 Ks. And Andrew Geiger on Sunday, 7 innings, 4 hits, no runs, 2 walks, 11 Ks. It's pitching coach Tyler Bender doing a great job with this Georgia Southwestern staff. Shout out to him and being able to help his team perform the way they've performed. Corey Lee went 7-11 on the weekend with 3 doubles, a home run, and 8 RBI, including a 5-for-5 game on Saturday again. Head coach Josh McDonald has to be elated with how the rotation has pitched so far this season. However, the Canes do have a tough midweek this week against Montevideo, who's receiving votes, before starting Peach Belt play this weekend on the road. After struggling to start the season, Flagler has now won 6 straight, including a midweek victory of receiving votes Rollins and sweeping American International on the weekend. Junior Mason Gray has hit safely in 12 of the 14 games this season, including going 7-21 this week, including a 4-for-7 with a home run and 6 RBI game on Saturday. Flagler will look to continue their winning in conference play this weekend as they travel to Lander. Speaking of Lander, they had another solid week. They went 3-1, scored 10 or more runs in each of their wins. And once again, Connor Droz, who was the player of the week, he had a great week. He went 7 for 15 with 6 total extra base hits, 3 of them home runs, 9 RBI, and 8 runs. Augusta collected a 4-game sweep of their opponent, Fairmont State junior Brady Logren, extending his hitting streak to 9 games after going 7 of 14 with 3 extra base hits and 8 RBI. He leads the team in hitting at .409 and leads with 8 extra base hits. Georgia College, they picked up a big series win against North Georgia in non-conference play. Sophomore Gabriel Worth recorded a multi-hit game in every game this week as he went 9-15 on the week. Columbus State extended their win streak to 4 games, sweeping then ranked Quincy in a 3-game set. The bullpen was lights out, going 9 innings, 4 hits, 0 earned runs, 4 walks, and 15 strikeouts. That performance was led by junior Leo Giannoni's 3-inning save on Friday, in which he allowed 1 hit and struck out 6. But Columbus State has a tough road ahead. They play a 2-game midweek series versus number 10 West Florida before starting conference play at North Georgia.
Yeah, that's some impressive stuff. I mean, Georgia Southwestern, certainly a team to look out for in this league. No question about it. So that'll be fun to see. And how about let's talk about some PSAC action. Aiden Layton threw the ball well for number 11 Seton Hill, a team known to have one of the best staffs in the country year in and year out. And an all-region selection from Assisa to go win 6 shutout, had a dozen Ks in their win over Ohio Dominican. He's gone 11 shutout innings through 2 starts so far this year. And Seton Hill, again, known to be dominant, excited to see how that pitching can fare coming up this weekend. They play Florida Southern twice. They play Tampa. They play Ashland. They play Mankato and Winona this coming week. That's a bear of a week, but they have a 3.20 ERA as a staff right now, which leads the league. It's 13th in the NCAA. The strikeout to walk ratio north of 3. It's just what Seton Hill does. They throw the ball effectively. How about California? They had Peyton Conti go 7-14 with 5 runs driven in and a homer over the weekend. From Monday to Monday, he went 9 of 17 with 7 runs driven in. Number 4, Millersville, they've started the season 7-2, and they look to be one of the best teams in the nation once again. And then Westchester, they go 3-0 after tearing the cover off the baseball this past weekend, scoring 14-plus runs in their 3-0 weekend against Charleston, DeUville, and Glenville State. They scored 45 runs, hit 380 as a team on opening weekend. Well, that's not too shabby.
Not too shabby, Will. And speaking of not too shabby, we want to talk about a team that's actually playing pretty well. They're number 2 in the South Central region poll as Colorado State Pueblo. They had a weekend to remember, or a week. They went 4-0. They scored 70 total runs, including posting a season-high 26 runs on Sunday. The Thunderwolves are now 9-2 to start the year through games on Sunday. Senior Christian Castaneda was dynamite at the plate. He went 10 of 17 with 4 doubles, 6 home runs, 16 RBI, and 11 runs. So all of his hits went for extra base hits, as he's our national hitter of the week. In the same breath, junior Elijah Borjas went 9 of 18 with 3 home runs and 9 RBI in the week without a strikeout. He also hit for the Cycle in 5 innings on their Sunday win. They have 30 home runs as a team through 12 games, and Castaneda is tied for the nation's lead with 9 home runs. Speaking of cycles, Colorado Mesa Jr. Paul Schoenfeld, in his lone start of the week, he hit for the Cycle against number 9 Northwest Nazarene. He went 4-4 with 2 runs. However, the Mavericks did lose 3-4 against the Nighthawks. After losing the first 2 games to number 14 Augustana, Regis responded in a big way, as they won the next 2 games to split the series, including a 19-4 drubbing on Sunday. The 6-9 hitters, Matt Graff, Matthias Sessing, Tanner Rice, and CJ DeFigli each had 2+ hits and 2+ RBIs on the win Sunday. The Shovel Boys also scored 5 runs in the bottom of the 7th to walk off their Game 3 win on Sunday, thanks in part to a 3-run double by Levi Padilla and the walk-off 2-run home run by Maxim Fullerton. MSU Denver also rebounded after losing the first 2 to MSU Billings by splitting the series. Junior Brad Hilton got the Roadrunners back on track with a 1-hit, 7-inning complete game in which he struck out 8 batters. Colorado School of Mines traveled to Cal State San Marcos for a series win. Alex Honeyman pitched well for the Warrior Diggers as he went 5 shutout innings, giving up 3 hits, struck out 5 in the final game of the series. New Mexico Highland sweeps NAIA opponent Oklahoma Panhandle for the first 4 wins of the year, as head coach Harry Estep got his first win at the helm over the weekend.
Yeah, impressive stuff right there. Like you talk about with the RMAC, we know how the ball flies around in that league time and time again. Let's talk about the SAC, the SAC, the lone ranked team of the SAC, according to D2BI's Top 25 poll that is going to be released today. It'll be in our first issue, and it'll be on the social media platforms. It's, Lincoln Memorial entering the rankings. They've started the year off hot. They took 2 of 3 against Lenore Ryan. They've swept Mars Hill. Good conference start for them. They're a strong team that took a series from Lander earlier this year as well. And here's a name to know, a young man on an 8-game hitting streak. His name is Carson Bowles. We've talked a little bit about him every week, it feels like, and why not? He's hitting .519 on the season with 5 bombs and 6 doubles. He's an early conference player of the year candidate for sure. And then they have 43 doubles, 9 triples, and 22 home runs as a team right now, just through 15 games. So they're gap-to-gap power, over-the-wall power, everything. They're raking, hitting .326 as a squad right now. Colin Goda already has 10 doubles, hitting .352, OPS above 1,100, and they lead the league, scoring 8.5 runs per game. Wingate also starting the year off strong in conference play. They swept Newberry in their first conference series, and they've been twisting it a ton this season, already turning 14 double plays. How about first baseman Brett Adams, who's hitting .339, 2 home runs, 5 doubles, and 16 runs driven in, which is all pretty good and well, but how about the fact that he's been a part of 13 of those 14 turns, playing a strong first base, 123 putouts on the year and 10 assists, and he hasn't committed an error, playing well in the field. And then Michael Dansky and Sean Barnett, they each have 6 home runs for Wingate. They're a team that's tearing the cover off the ball, 24 bombs as a team through 15 games. Coker has started 5-1. They've done it because of their arms in conference play. They have a 4.32 ERA as a team right now. That's a reason why they've started strong in this league. That'll play for sure. And Aaron Diaz, 2-0 on the year through 4 starts with a 1.61 ERA across 22 and a third innings. And they're also second in the NCAA with 61 stolen bases as a team, getting over 4 per game. And Mars Hill's Alec Yount had 7 hits and 11 RBIs and a 4-win week over Emmanuel and a sweep over UVA Wise for the victories for them. And Durrell Endens, who had 6 shutout innings across 2 appearances as well for them last week. Lenore Ryan, another team to talk about. They're hitting .334 as a team, which is 19th in the NCAA. And Tyler McPeak is a guy to talk about when you talk about that team. He went 6 of 11 with 5 runs scored over the weekend, a couple of home runs and a double for Lenore Ryan, a guy who, he's been impressive. He transferred in from Campbell and then last year hit .339 or .349, had team best 18 bombs, and he's hitting .389 this season with 4 bombs and 3 doubles. So he's done pretty well. He has done pretty well for Lenore Ryan. I'm sure they're very happy to have him again for another season.
Absolutely. Well, very excited. I mean, the SAC's going to be a good conference, seeing Wingate, Lenore Ryan, and Lincoln Memorial. So we'll be excited to see that year in the future. But we go to the SIAC, and Savannah State, they stay unbeaten. They are a perfect 10-0 to start the season, 6-0 in conference play. After their weekend sweep of Lemoyne Owen, the Tigers outscored their opponent 68-1 in their 4-0 week. Pitching was led by senior Andrew Mann, who threw 5 no-hit innings with 8 strikeouts. Savannah State was wreaking havoc on the base paths as well, stealing 40 bases this week, led by senior Hunter Bradshaw's 8. Kendall Spencer's still hitting a gaudy .552 on the year. Savannah State leads the nation with a .393 batting average as a team. Spring Hill advanced to 6-0 in conference play, 8-6 on the season as they go to Morehouse College and lead with a sweep. Ethan Valdez was 8-16 on the week with 3 stolen bases. Both Spring Hill and Savannah State will score this weekend as the 2 remaining unbeaten teams in the SIAC. Benedict, in their 12-2 win against Tuskegee, stole 17 bases in one game, led by senior Isaiah Canty's 6. So they wreak havoc on the base paths. Remember a couple of years ago, Braden O'Connor set records there as he would frequently steal 5+ in a game, and he had over 60 in his final year. Kentucky State, they swept Clark Atlanta, go 3-3 in conference play as they scored 50 total runs in the sweep.
Yeah. That's impressive. It really is, Robert, how they're performing this season. And want to know who's performing as well as anybody? Well, it's the number one team in the country, Tampa. They continue to dominate as we talk about the Sunshine State Conference, sweeping a non-conference road series at USC Aiken, a Monday game against Albany State. They also beat the number one ranked team in the land in the NAIA ranks in Southeastern in a midweek to be a D2 best 14-0. The last two times the Spartans played Southeastern were in 2015 and 2013, in which Tampa won the World Series in both of those years. That's a good poll from yours truly, Robert Fry. Great poll right there. So maybe perhaps it's another World Series run for Tampa. It certainly looks like it. They have outscored their opponents by 127 runs this year. Grad student Stephen Klein is making it look easy, hitting .441 on the season with a 1.240 OPS in 34 at-bats this season. And it's the Luke Lashuka show right now. We can't stop talking about him of St. Leo. He's thrown another scoreless gem, increasing his scoreless streak to now 30 innings, the best start in school history in over a decade to start the year for St. Leo. They're ranked 17th right now because of it, and they took 2 of 3 against Palm Beach Atlantic to start conference play. You can hear from head coach Rick Odette about the strong start to the season in this week's issue of D2 Baseball Insider. Embry-Riddle surprises and takes 2 of 3 against Rollins on the road, and the first road series win by any team since 2022 against Rollins, and Embry-Riddle is able to do that. Impressive stuff for a Rollins team we had regarded very high. We've dropped them to just receiving votes at this juncture. And also Chase Bruno and Camden Traficante was a guy who was excellent at the plate this weekend. Bruno went 8 of 15. Traficante went 6 of 10. They turned 2 double plays as well. And after losing the series opener, Lynn, ranked 22nd to 10-4 overall, 2-1 in conference play, returned to beat Eckerd to win both games over the doubleheader on Saturday, thus winning the series. And Junior Cole Fowler, he provided a spark for the Fighting Knights, going 6 of 12, having 4 runs driven in, and he leads the team hitting .424 this season. Bryce Pratt threw the ball well, 6 2/3 in game 2 of the series as the junior struck out 5, did not give up an earned run, and just 5 hits. Nova Southeastern started conference playoff on the right foot too. They take 2 of 3 against the Florida Tech team, scoring double digits in their 2 wins. Sophomore Henry Wallen went 5 of 12 in the series with a home run, 5 runs driven in, and 2 stolen bases. And then Barry picked up a series win against Florida Southern to start conference play in a non-conference midweek over Palm Beach Atlantic. Sophomore Joe Morrissey got the win in the series opener, going 7 with just allowing 3 hits and 1 run, 3 walks, 9 Ks for him. And he lowered his ERA to an impressive 2.01 figure on the season for Barry.
As you know, that Sunshine State, especially at Tampa, like you mentioned, you know, Tampa might be the team to beat, and they might be the team to beat all year. But when we transition now to the last conference, or I should say the independents, we should talk about those 3 teams. Bluefield State ripped off 46 runs in a weekend sweep of Claflin. Garrett Ladilek was the star of the offense on the weekend, going 7 of 15 with a double and 5 RBI. Ladilek is now hitting .400 on the season. Alex Canopy threw a 7-inning complete game to close out the sweep, giving up 4 hits, 1 run, and striking out 10. Salem hosted Mansfield in a 3-game set on Sunday, Monday, and swept them, as now the Tigers' win streak is 6 games. Frankie Gulko tossed another gem in game 2 of the series, this time going a 7-inning complete game with 3 hits, no earned run, 3 walks, and 10 strikeouts. Freshman Mackenzie Wainwright, who was previously drafted by the Reds a few years ago, leads the team with a .474 batting average. Virginia State hosted Holy Family, going 1-3. Their lone win came from the arm of freshman Gavin Stevens, who threw 6 innings of 1-run ball and allowing just 2 hits. So that wraps up the conference previews. As now we'll talk a little bit about some big series this week. And you know, one I mentioned earlier was Savannah State and Spring Hill in the SIAC. We got to give the SIAC some love, and those are 2 really good teams in the SIAC. Savannah State, again, sitting 10-0. That's a big one. And we always got to talk about Conference Carolinas play, just because of the sheer amount of teams that are ranked in the said conference play. Young Harris and Mount Olive playing this weekend. That's a series to watch as well. Just a few of the teams there. Belmont Abbey, Francis Marion, another one within that conference is something interesting to watch as well. It's really exciting to see this, and we'll be curious to get your thoughts on some big matchups over the weekend as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of big matchups. I mean, when you look at what's going on here, once again, if you want to know of everything going on with Division II baseball, you know it because you're watching this video, right? So we break down every single conference and we follow it every single week. So when you break down every conference and talk about it, and it's also, of course, in our exclusive premium subscription-based service of D2 Baseball Insider, where you can get exclusive access to interviews, exclusive access to all of these updates that we talk about in print form, Nation Leaders, D2BI Top 10. One other thing that I love doing, it's one of my most favorite things, is this right now, Robert, talking about, like you just said, big series coming up, because that's what it's all about, right? The week-to-week fun of following a baseball season is always predicated on big-time matchups. And one thing I have my eyes on for sure is some of, not necessarily, I want to talk about some series, don't get me wrong, but, what's going on in Florida this weekend for some of the teams taking a spring break trip? What's going on in Tucson, Arizona as well, Robert? Those are some big things to watch out for. I really am intrigued for sure to see how it's going to end up working out, because you've got some teams like that are going to be able to gear up. And then also Cary, North Carolina hosting as well. Some teams going on a spring break trip this weekend. So those three sites are at least where I want to start when I talk about some big matchups coming up this weekend for sure, Robert.
Absolutely. Well, the annual Russ Matt Invitational is starting up this week, and we got a little bit going on. It kind of depends. Some of the teams in Florida will play kind of teams at their home site. So like Embry-Riddle and Minnesota State, they're playing a 2-game set today, as of Wednesday, February 28th, and Thursday, February 29th, just a short 2-game set. But being able to see some of these teams trek down there and see that is really cool. Not sure if the Russ Matt Invitational this year has a stream. If they do, it's more than likely to be a paid stream, so you'll have to pay to access that stream. But again, very exciting to see that. But I'm really excited. Again, another weekend of high-level Division II college baseball, something we'll be following, and be sure to follow DIVII on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube as well, and follow D2 Baseball Insider on Twitter as well to see the upcoming next issue coming out, as if you haven't already, subscribe at d2insider.subscribe.
Absolutely. And one other thing too, when you talk about these specific series, obviously I got my eyes on Florida for what we talked about during this podcast breakdown, but I'm also intrigued as well about how a team like Rollins, I'm talking about, like, you're 6-6 to start the year, you drop a series to Embry-Riddle, and it doesn't get easier for you. You now go to Nova Southeastern. So I'm looking forward to the series between Rollins and Nova Southeastern coming up this weekend. Rollins, they've taken lumps before in the regular season, and then you talk about them at the end of the year playing in the national championship game. And I think the Sunshine State Conference is known for that, because everybody can beat up on each other because everybody's pretty darn good. But again, there's some big matchups coming up in Davenport, Florida, with Ashland going down there playing some really good teams. Obviously, you have Seton Hill down there. You've got Tampa involved in action down there. Westchester and Concord are playing each other in Cary, North Carolina this weekend. But there's a lot of good series. One to watch out of the Midwest, a little Trevecca and Illinois Springfield. I think Illinois Springfield, if they continue to play well, we'll have to continue to talk about them. They're 6-4, but they've done some good things. However, when you talk about a conference battle, Robert, I don't know if it gets better than what we might see in the MIAA this weekend, because one team that started really well is Fort Hays State. Fort Hays State's baseball team has started the year off already getting double-digit wins within the tough MIAA conference. And, well, what do they have to do this weekend? They're an 11-4 team that is traveling to Rogers State, that possesses a pretty impressive win streak right now. So Rogers State going up against Fort Hays State is a series I want to watch, because that's an 11-4 team against an 11-3 team out of the MIAA. That is going to be a series to watch. I already mentioned Central Missouri and a Northeastern State. You would think Central Missouri can get that one, but Northeastern State has shown the ability to score quite a bit of runs. And then one I want to see, I talked about it last week, and I'm going to talk about it again, is Southern Arkansas and Harding. Two 12-3 teams are going to be going at it this week. That's going to be a lot of fun to see. How about Angelo and Arkansas Fort Smith? Arkansas Fort Smith, a team that we've talked about because they've played well, and Angelo, a team you can't not talk about because they're the reigning champions and they're the number one preseason team, but have since struggled a little bit, at least compared to what we maybe expected from them within the tough Lone Star Conference. And, you know, it's fun because you gravitate towards some of those conferences that require 4-game sets, because it's more advantageous for them sometimes to go in the postseason. You have 4 established starters opposed to some of the conferences that do 3-game sets. And I'm really looking forward to that 4-game set with Angelo and Arkansas Fort Smith. Well, and you know, there's a lot. There's a lot of good series, Robert. I mean, we could go on, and shoot, we might as well. But there are a lot of really good ones. Those are some of the ones at top of mind. Obviously, maybe bias-wise, but I am interested to see if Quincy can get their first win after nearly getting 50 a year ago. It's not going to be easy against Davenport, who hasn't started the year off strong, but you know, they're a pretty good program in their own right, year in and year out. Grand Valley and UIndy, also another series that I'm looking forward to seeing how it will ultimately progress. So it'll be good. And hey, you talked about it toward the end. Can Savannah State stay undefeated? I think Spring Hill gives them one of the tougher challenges, at least within that league. And, you know, how many wins does Savannah State need to get for us to perhaps consider them as well? And then final one for you, Robert, maybe, like you said, maybe the best one, and we already detailed it, but Young Harris Mount Olive, right? Young Harris Mount Olive, I just think is really going to show us how good are you, Young Harris. We rank you 5th, and for good reason, because you played the heck out of the baseball game this year. But how can you do against a Mount Olive team that I think has as much talent as anybody when you look within this league in terms of their arm talent, because they've got some pretty good arms in that staff?
Absolutely, Will. And, you know, we're excited for it and hope you all are too. So thank you so much for watching. Again, be sure to follow us, DIVII Baseball, Twitter, Twitter/X, Instagram, YouTube, D2BSBL Insider, Twitter, and be sure to subscribe at d2insider.com/subscribe. Thank you. Do you want to hit stop recording? Because it won't let me hit stop.